Minecraft 1.15 is just around the corner, bringing with it bees and tons of new bee-related blocks. In the latest snapshot, we finally got the new honey and honeycomb blocks. So, that being said, my name is SystemZ and here are 8 build hacks using honey blocks in Minecraft. Before we jump into the video, in celebration of passing 300,000 subscribers, I'm giving away 3 copies of Minecraft. To join, all you have to do is follow my Instagram, link in the description below. I'll pick a winner on October 31st, so good luck. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. My name, of course, is SystemZ, and today we're gonna take a look at none other than the brand new honey block that was added in the most recent snapshot. I've got a whole bunch of different build hacks, tips, tricks, and decorations, and more for building, so make sure to stay tuned. We're gonna take a look at the honey block, the honeycomb block, and maybe a couple of the other bee-related blocks. This is going to be truly unbelievable. I know, I'm sorry. Comment down below how bad that joke was. Let's kick things off with a decoration. This is one of the first things that I built with the new honey block, and I think it's extremely effective. I love the way this looks as a keg. As you can see here, we've got the honey block almost as a liquid surrounded by trapdoors. Something I think a lot of people do when a new block comes out. They immediately throw trapdoors around it to call it a barrel, even though we've already got barrels. I do the same thing, but this time it actually worked really well. Because of the different layers of the block and the translucency, you can see that there's just this weird film on top that almost looks like some sort of unsettled liquid or foam. I think for that reason it looks great as a liquid, perhaps beer or honey tea or something of the source, orange juice, let's call it that. And as you can see, in combination with the barrel and the trip hook, it looks fantastic, especially in this setting of a tiki bar or just any medieval bar. I think this is a great decoration and I'm really happy that we have it. But let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Now this next one is actually more of a mechanic, but also still a bit of a build hack. You can do some really cool animal pins using the honey block. I'm sure you've seen by now that the honey block actually keeps mobs from being able to jump, including yourself, so definitely don't step in it. It's kind of a bit of a trap. Speaking of which, traps are another thing you could do, but I'm not a trap expert, so check again for another day on that. But anyways, as you can see here, I've essentially created a 1 block tall animal pin, which in my opinion looks a lot better than a 2 block tall. You can do a lot more with decorations. I've got a pail of water and some hay bales, and I think it looks fantastic. The only thing that doesn't really look that great is the honey itself. But don't worry, you can easily throw trapdoors on it, and it still works the exact same way. They still cannot get out. So this makes building an animal pen, especially in the early stages, very easy, as long as you've got honey nearby. So that's essentially it for animal pins. Let's move on to the next one. This next idea is honestly probably my favorite use for the honey block. I think this is incredibly cool. And as you can see, we've essentially got this theme of a blacksmith. I've got sort of a building here. This is all kind of unnecessary. Really what's going on is right here. It's basically just a mixture of gold blocks and honey blocks, as well as a blast furnace. But just use your imagination for just one moment and imagine that there is liquid coming out of the front grill of the blast furnace, spilling into this cast, and essentially slowly turning into gold blocks. I think that is extremely cool, very believable as some sort of golden liquid. I think that's very cool, and anyone who likes to build blacksmiths, I think you will agree it looks great. In conjunction with different barrels with gold and golden nuggets on top, I think it looks great. I think overall this is a fantastic way to really portray that blacksmith area, and also of course the smithing table, the anvil, this whole scene comes together very nicely, but I think it's all because of this believable cast. So this is fantastic. Unfortunately, you can really only do it with gold because iron would look a little bit weird, but it's still a very cool feature nonetheless. Now everybody loves lamps. I think this is probably one of the most popular ideas that Grian himself came up with. That being said, I'm not really crediting myself for this as much as I am just tweaking it. So as you can see, what I've done is I've gotten a honey block and placed it on top of a dragon egg instead of the common quartz block that's used. But there's also glowstone behind it, making this an actual functionable lamp, other than the fact that you really can't turn it on or off unless you use a redstone lamp. Now I just think the shade looks great, as you can see, because of the 2 layers, much like the first decoration. It kind of has that shade feeling with the light behind it, so I think this looks looks very good as a lamp. The only thing is the very saturated and vibrant orange it's hard to match with in the room, but you can still pull it off. As you can see, I've created a pretty cool scene here, but that's a great way to use it. And so far, I think everybody is probably going to call this their favorite way to use the honey block. Again, redstone lamp behind it, and you've got a functionable, really nice looking lamp. I know what you're thinking. Is that a pineapple? Why, yes it is. This is probably the coolest feature. Legend has it that if you place a pineapple down long enough, it'll grow into something even greater, known as SpongeBob's house, or something of the sorts. It's definitely not SpongeBob's house, copyright to SpongeBob. But as you can see, it looks great as a pineapple block. I think this is something a lot of people kind of don't really think about when new blocks are added, but I don't know, it looks great. It also kind of looks like a waffle, if you ask me. You could probably put it in an item frame and get a waffle out of that. But yeah, SpongeBob's house and or pineapples. I think it looks great. I think it's something very cool. I think there's definitely something to be done here. If you want to live in this house, you know, it's a great way to build it. But yeah, don't believe the sapling thing. It definitely doesn't grow like that. But wouldn't it be cool? Or would it? I don't know. That could be probably one of the most useless features. But overall, it's a great block for pineapples, which is bizarre, but cool, I guess. So this next idea is kind of really not even using honey at all, or any of the bee blocks. But it's a great decoration for an apiary, if that's how you say it, I don't know. But a bee yard, essentially a workstation where you're working with bees. I think if you're trying to decorate your own little personal area, this is a really cool way to do it. And that is using a golden helmet in conjunction with an armor stand with a glass block and a flower pot on top. It just looks like a nice glass jar filled with honey. And obviously, if you pair that with a honey bottle, as well as some honey that's yet to kind of be taken from, I think it really comes together nicely. So once again, if you're trying to decorate your workstation where you're working with bees, I think this is a great decoration for a tabletop, or even on the floor. You could even put multiple up together. The only problem is you really can't do any higher than this level, unless you use commands. I'm sure it's possible that way, but right now with the survival, this is about as good as it gets. But you know what? Honestly, I think it looks great. I think this is a really cool little feature, and I definitely look forward to seeing it out there in the Minecraft universe. Now, I did see this on the Minecraft Reddit. Unfortunately, I couldn't really find the original creator because I've seen a couple people do this, but it is kind of a general trick, so I don't really think there is anyone to credit, but let's just call it a community creation. Now, with this one, there is somebody to credit, and that is Lord Valkyre, one of my moderators on my server, Discord and Minecraft server. He actually thought it would be a cool block to use as a lattice. Now, if you don't know what lattices are, I guess that's how you say that. They're essentially the wooden kind of cross material that goes under porches or are often used as fences. I think it looks great. It's a little weird and definitely doesn't fit most build palettes, but as you can see, I've somewhat made it work here. It's the under material under this porch. It works because of its cross kind of grill pattern, but overall it is very bizarre. And also, if you're looking to use commands, consider using armor stands with the replace item command to place a beehive on the helmet and kind of get that hornet's nest look. I think it looks cool. It's a little spooky. I definitely don't want to walk close to that nest if I get too close, and you know, might hurt a little bit, but I think it's a great decoration for cabins. So let's consider this a 2-for-1 deal, but ultimately a lattice is an interesting use, but a little bit difficult to do so. Speaking of bee yard or apiary, if you're wanting to build one and you want to use an actual bee's nest, consider this. This is kind of cool. It's a honeycomb, as you can see, and if we get a little bit closer in, if I can actually get in here, you can see that it's actually infested with bees. We've got bees nest everywhere. I think this is a cool way to decorate a bee area, so if you're looking for a way to do it, this is definitely it. Plus, I've got a little stem here to kind of make it look like it's, you know, hanging from this, or you could hang it from a giant tree. There's all sorts of ways you could incorporate this into your world, but I think it's a great way to decorate your bee area and a great way to store all of your bee-related blocks. As you can see, like I said, we got the bee's nest. You could keep bee hives in here, chests filled with bee materials, all sorts of things. This is just one of those ways you can decorate a specific workstation, and I think it's pretty creative. So if you happen to do something like this, definitely send it on Twitter or Instagram. I would love to see it. And last but certainly not least, we have got a mixture of different ways to use the bee blocks, including the honey block. I know it's kind of the theme of the episode, but we do have great ways to use it. It's a little weird, but as you can see, we've got a pretty much entirely honey related wall. But let's go around to the back first. This is the color palette that you get with the new blocks. The honey block isn't in here because it's kind of weird looking and doesn't really go well against other blocks unless you use use the honeycomb. But as you can see, this is the color scale that you're going to be using if you're building with this block. Obviously, there's other materials that go well with it, but these are essentially the colored, palette. So I think it does look good. There's a lot of possibilities. First and foremost, you can see what I've done here. It looks great with kind of a wacky theme. I've got all sorts of colors here, which seems to be a common style now to not really have a main theme of a color. So it's more of an accent wall with just everything. You can see blue, red, green, all the other colors in there, yellow, green again. There's so much going on here, but I think it does look cool. It's definitely something different. We haven't really been able to do anything like this before, but this wallpaper looks nice. You can see all the different decorations. I've got the cabinets here with the bee hive blocks, and then this ceiling fan, which is interesting. You can also put glowstone or even a lantern above that to get it lighting, but obviously the lanterns on the side give it lighting as well. I think that's very cool, but ultimately there is not really much you can do with it other than a lot of parkour stuff and various different redstone things. You can even cheat and get ultimate unlimited carpets, but I didn't really want to show that because I'm all for playing the game fairly. But there's a lot you can do with it, but it's gonna be very bold and brash, or maybe it belongs in the trash, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Is it bold or brash, or does it belong in the trash? That's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing and turning on notifications so that you never miss an upload. And like I said, that's going to be it for today. My name has been System Z. You guys have been awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.